Thank you.
Greetings and citations, everyone. Well. It would seem I was a little bit wrong, and a little bit right. At least depending on what happens next with our rather hot-headed incarnate. If you watched my previous video, I inquired on whether or not Fyrakk or Ragnaros would be the new Fire Lord after Smolderon bid it. And with what Fyrakk does to Smolderon within the raid, essentially betraying him and taking all of that power for himself, it would seem that not only is Fyrakk not done within the story after his failure within the very end of Yggdrasil, but it would seem that he's going to retain both a position of power and possibly leadership, or at the very least has become entwined with the realm of the Firelands as one of its denizens. This is further proven by Abyssian noting that he felt Fyrakk fade away into the very realm that he gained his power from, the Firelands. And given Abyssian holds a connection to the elemental planes, as Neltharion had as the Earth Warder, it makes sense that he'd be the first to know. Some may question if this undermines his ending and his loss at the New World Tree, and I would say he still ultimately died and lost his opportunity to reshape the world in his image. Also, you steal his very powerful and handy weapon that enabled him to break into Emerald Dream in the first place, kind of preventing him from repeating this in a way. If anything, becoming the Fire Lord and being bound to the Firelands is a punishment of itself. Almost. Sorta. It's a whole thing, but the Firelands and the other elemental realms, while are places of power, are also prisons, and as demonstrated by Smolderon, it comes with its own hindrances. Do I think that Fyrakk is still as powerful as he was when we faced him in the Emerald Dream? No. I think he's going back to square one as an incarnate, and he's also lost a lot of his lackeys that helped boost him in the first place. Which, it still makes him powerful in his own right, especially if he has the role of the Fire Lord, that kind of gives him a boost too. But he still lost his Shadow Flame and his legendary weapon. At least from what I'm guessing. His weapon's definitely gone, but I don't know about the Shadow Flame. I suppose he could always retain the Shadow Flame in some form or another. I don't know how the rebirth works, I just assume that he's going to lose it and has to regain it some way. He could just go back to Aberrus, I don't know if it's still there, but yeah. Him becoming a Fire Lord, or at least being sent back to the Firelands, does give him immortality, and the means to respawn should he be defeated outside of the realm again. He also gains new followers as the new Fire Lord, if they'll listen to him from the Firelands. There are plenty of other elementals there who'd see him as someone to still follow, I imagine. He may even retain some of his older followers from the Primalists, and maybe even the Druids of the Flame, if he plays his cards right. Of course, this is Fyrakk after all, and this is the same man who's not the best planner, and tends to lash out at his allies. He's most certainly not going to be happy about losing, or his current predicament. And losing his dream, literally. And losing to the dragon aspects. Again, it's not going to make him one happy camper either way. There is also the Cult of Ragnaros, who may not take a liking to yet another false Fire Lord, and may attempt to use him as a means to revive their lord, which I imagine won't go well for either party. We may very well see a rivalry in the Firelands between Ragnaros and Fyrakk, should the two both return. Maybe we'll see a war in the Firelands, where one side comes on top and the other becomes a servant of sorts. But what really lies ahead for Fyrakk? Will he attempt to retake the tree now that it's on the Dragon Isles? Like, and the Mortal Plane? Or will he plan for something else against Dragonkind? Well, I do think that initially that's what Fyrakk tends on doing, but I think another has plans for him. I believe that Eridikron will make a return to re-recruit his hazardous brother into his new cause with Xal'atath. And while I think Fyrakk will react similarly to how he did with Eridikron in the past, with violence and serious contempt, I think Eridikron will force Fyrakk to share in his perspective, whether he wants to or not. Just as he had prior all the way back when the Incarnates were first created. Eridikron had a long and nasty habit of using violence in his own right to keep his fellow Incarnates in check, which will likely lead to Fyrakk becoming a lackey to Eridikron once more, and having the entire realm of the Firelands on his back, possibly. I've compared Eridikron and Fyrakk to Megatron and Starscream before, and I think this sort of relationship isn't fading anytime soon. The nature of both having resentment for one another, while also seeing the benefits that they each bring to the table. One must rule and one must follow, while secretly hating the other. Okay, more like openly hating one another, but still being a family on its last legs too. In an almost weird fashion, Fyrakk needs Eridikron to function proper, and Eridikron needs Fyrakk to make his goals a reality. Both need each other, in a way, while also holding some serious issues for each other too. This is what I believe lies ahead for Fyrakk and Eridikron, which I believe we'll see play out soon or in the near future. Eridikron intends to take down the Titans, and I do not think he'll be alone to see that done. And this will carry on my favorite part of Dragonflight, the Incarnates still being a factor and a thing that are still interacting. I honestly hope that they do this, as it would mean we would get to see them interact more in the future, with also a sort of understanding that they all kind of have. I do not think their dynamic will ever be the same after this. No way. Fyrakk wants power and, in a way, freedom. Eridikron also wants power and freedom, but they're both willing to chain others and their ideals to make it all happen. Eridikron especially, who outright left the Incarnates die when he went out to bargain with the Void, and has in the past used violence to keep the Incarnates in check, as I said before. Ironically, never using this on Fyrakk, who's outright left their cause after realizing its faults. I imagine a reunion will occur for all of the Incarnates in all different sides, minus Raszageth of course, unless she too has been reborn in the elemental plane somehow. I imagine that Fyrakk will look for his own way out while still craving power and the means to topple over those who chain him, both the aspects and Eridikron and Fyrakk, although I suppose she too is an aspect now. And I suspect Eridikron will still show some disappointment in all of his siblings for their failures, while keeping his goals alive to get back at the Titans. Fyrakk for reaching too high in his goals to try and claim Yggdrasil all for himself, and only himself, and Fyrakk for siding with the very Titan aberrations whom they had warred with. And I can foresee Fyrakk still attempting to reason with both of them, in a way. All in all, I'm very excited and hopeful for such a reunion that I do think will happen later down the line, even if Fyrakk, for some reason, doesn't tag along. I'll go on saying that the Incarnates were my favorite part in Dragonflight, and if we get my main 3 favorites from the get-go still active in a wide variety of ways, I am absolutely down. I don't really have an issue with Fyrakk returning, so long as he's used differently or isn't outright killed immediately when he returns. I think Fyrakk's return is a perfect vehicle to further shape and emote all of the Incarnates, particularly Eridikron and of course Fyrakk himself. I love to have them on the same page and reacting to the fall of the Titans or the plans that Xal'atath and the Void has in store for them. Perhaps we'll even see a weaker side to both of them, or at least a moment of familiarity for the two, even if they are villains, even if they do crave control and power. I like them to at least share in something together that further defines them as a team, or simply as characters. Maybe we'll even see Eridikron show some level of contempt for the Void and how it uses him, and Fyrakk, and maybe we'll see him kind of rise above that and, sort of master his own reality or his own goals and kind of dismiss the Void. In a way, it is the reason why he's so scarred in the first place. But what do you all think? Do you think Fyrakk will return and join once again with Eridicron, or do you think something else is planned out for our fiery friend? Let me know down below. If you guys like this video, be sure to let me know in the comments. Give a like, share, and of course, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell. You can hang with us on the Discord where we talk about all sorts of stuff and things. You can also support me on my Patreon like these amazing folks here. Helps out a lot with making content like this for the channel. But until next time, my friends, see ya!